So I think it's actually very important to record your losses, not just publish every single time you win, because you can actually learn more from your defeats than you can learn from your victories. I know a lot of people on YouTube will only upload games where they won. While I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I think that it's actually more balanced to also publish your losses. So I'm on the tire map. The killer is Wraith, which is particularly challenging for my setup since I don't run the anti-invisibility perk Spine Chill. But Wraith can actually be beaten on this map. It's just that the survivors myself didn't play particularly well. So I left the gen because there was already 2 people working on it. It's actually more efficient for survivors to do 1 gen each than to have many of them pile up on a single gen. Here you can actually hear killer's heartbeat, so it's time to get out. Get found. Unless you can outrun the killer, generally get killed. Here I found this gen which is very unsafe because it's all the way in a wide open area. So an invisible killer like Wraith can approach from almost any angle. But if we can successfully finish this generator, the survivors would have a good advantage. Means they will have safer generators to work with in the end game. One of my teammates has already gone down. Another one is injured. I'm okay. I'm working on this generator. So the Wraith must have been a little busy because he took a quite long time to pick up that person. Now he hangs him on the hook. I'm about to go save my friend, but he raises his elbows. This is a signal that killer is very near him, and please do not come save me. So when the teammate gives this signal, then we know we shouldn't risk ourselves, because otherwise the invisible Wraith might do a ding ding and catch us in the open. So we need to wait till the killer is no longer camping him. But he isn't, and one of my other teammates has saved him, so I'm going back. I'm going to work on this gen, which is also a very important gen as a center generator. So in general, you need to finish the generators in the center before you do the generators on the sides, so that killer has to walk longer distances in the end game. If you finish the side generators first, then the killer has an easier time guarding his generators. You want to take the center always. So I missed the skill check. It alerts the killer to my position, and I know that after he hangs the guy, he'll come straight for me. So I hide in a locker and he doesn't guess where I am. It could be rather risky sometimes because if he checks the locker, he can instantly find me. But I managed to get away in time. So it's so far it's all good. Even two of us working on this center generator. My teammate's gone for the safe, so I should go look for yet another generator. I do find it here. It's almost done as well. Unfortunately, at this moment my teammate has gotten hooked 3 times, so he dies, and we both go and hide in the shack where the killer does not have line of sight on us. Wraith is actually in the area. Even if you can't see or hear him, he is nearby. And you can see that he's actually popping out of invisibility. He's going after me, so I immediately start to run the loops, but fortunately there's no pellet. So bolt the window just to break his sight. Then I wait at this pellet, so if killer approaches, I will drop this pellet on him. Does not chase. He does not chase because he probably found my other teammate. Went after them instead. So I'm actually going around looking for a gen, and here I found a gen, but unfortunately my teammate here fails a skill check, which makes this gen unsafe. And in fact, the Wraith is already here. We don't really have time. We don't really have time. So I'm going back into the loop, bolt the window. Unfortunately, so a Dead Heart escapes killer's grasp. After several loops, I'm out of options and the killer finds and downs me. So killers are always faster than survivors, which is why generally we have to just try not to be found. Unless there's pellets to stun the killer, even that only buys a little bit of time. Or if you're a really good survivor, you can run these loops very well, then you can escape. Now the unfortunate thing is that this Wraith is actually camping near me. I can't really get room to breathe because he's nearby. This moment he's chasing my teammate. There's only 3 of us left, but on the other hand, we also have completed all the generators except for one. And at this point, I'm going to get here, but I see his outline and oh man, he's back already. So at this point, I thought that he's chasing my teammate, so I decided to finish the final gen, but it turns out he's actually behind me. He's not chasing after my teammate, and I go down because I wasn't expecting him to approach. I thought he was actually chasing the lady instead of going after me. So I'm on my second hook, and it's a particularly unfortunate situation. Because if I had the spine shield, I would realize that Wraith was following me, and probably I would have better chances of countering him. At this point in time, I'm on the second hook, and unfortunately, he does not notice that the Wraith is camping. He's actually very nearby. But okay, so I try to get myself healed. But the problem is that the Wraith is heading straight over to me. He knows our location because he has barbecue and chili. Oops. I thought he would come from the other way. I use a Dead Heart to dodge killer's attack. Then I actually come on the other side so that Wraith would accidentally hit the hook guy instead of me. Now I'm out of trickster, and unfortunately for me, it is my death hook. There's nothing much I can do at the moment, except hope that Wraith ignores me, but he doesn't. Brings me, and I think this is death for me, because you can only be hooked 3 times in the game. So there's not much I could have done in this situation, since the killer was never leaving me alone. The problem was my teammates actually came to save me without realizing that Wraith was way too near. And I would say that having Spine Shield would actually help a lot in this situation. Actually, Spine Shield counters the invisibility of Wraiths. Now, this lady is looping the loop very well, and she's actually gaining a lot of distance on the killer, because you can see how she's hugging the lines, how she's hugging the boundaries super tight. This makes her loop smaller, while the killer is not doing the same thing. So it actually takes a lot longer to catch up to her. This is a skilled survivor, this Jogo Zigat. But even so, we're already 2 people dead. It's a very tough position. So another thing that could have saved my life a few times is if I had brought a med kit into the game. It would allow me to heal when Wraith hits me, so his hit and run tactics may not actually work that well. You can see that this guy tried to hide in a locker, but he was found by Wraith, and in general you really have to manage your lockers very well, because they are a high risk, high reward. You can't be seen when you're in a locker, but the killer checks, you're just instantly picked up. That's of course not a good thing. So here, this girl actually is a little bit unfortunate, because she's on the hill, and this allows Wraith to easily see her. And it's even more unfortunate because the hatch spawns so close, and yet the killer is able to get to it first. So at this moment, the position is lost. The killer is able to chase down the last survivor, and I think that there's actually nothing you can do unless you can escape the Wraith's line of sight. As long as he can see you, he wins. You have a time limit as well. So she makes a pellet, but she's just a little bit too slow. So let me ask a question, which is, what actually went wrong for the survivors? Why weren't the survivors able to defeat this Wraith? Because we were actually very close to escaping. In fact, we were just 1 generator away from escaping. So aside from not having anti-invisibility perks like Spine Shield, I think the lack of decisive strike was also a factor, because DS could have bought a lot of time in certain positions on the loop. So let me just review to the spots in the game where I felt that mistakes were made, and how it could be improved next time. So let's go back to this position. So here I missed a skill check, but I actually recovered from it by going to the locker. Now he didn't suspect the locker, and normally if the killer suspects that you went inside the locker, he would think you went into the nearest locker, which is this one. So if I see him going to this locker and opening it, then I would come out and I would escape to the right. So I don't hide in the most obvious locker, I hide in the third most obvious locker. There's actually another locker to my left. So if I see him checking the lockers, like if he checked this locker, I would have escaped. So that was my escape plan. And actually, in this case, he didn't even suspect the lockers, so he just went on. Now, this position where I went here, okay, I think in this position where we both ran to the shack, it was also a mistake, because in general you want to split up as survivors. You do not ever want to be in the same place to avoid giving the killer a double kill. So now that I saw that the lady had moved into the shack to hide, I should have tried to move in the opposite direction, which is on the rocks. So instead we both came in here, then we both got found in this position, I think so. So here I was in the gym, and the problem is that the pallet has already been broken, so it is not as safe to loot this area as it could have been. And you can see that the Wraith, who is just basically totally invisible, is able to sneak up. Is able to sneak up on me. But I ran back into the loop and I started going around the place in order to escape. Here I should have looked back to see where the Wraith was, but I mean I did get away because I got to hear the pallet. He didn't bother to chase. Okay, now here I should have moved a little bit closer to the walls to gain some distance, but the Dead Hard was nice, and then I thought there was a window, but there wasn't, and I left the loop here, which actually allowed the killer to catch up to me and get the down. So in general, I think that the biggest one was that I thought the killer was chasing the lady when actually he was going right behind me. So that's one of the advantages of invisible killers, is that it's very hard to tell what they're doing unless you have an anti-invisibility perk like Spine Chill. And actually maybe I should have run Spine Chill over Urban. Now one of the key things about this game is how I was never really given any space or any time to heal. I think I would have given a much better fight if I had been healed. Now, problem is that the killer was running a detection ability called Barbecue and Chili, so it allows him to immediately see where the survivors are as soon as they are hooked. It also didn't help matters that some of my teammates just go down really quickly, giving the killer a lot of barbecue and chili users. So it is tough to play with teammates who go down fast, and you can see in this position I need kind of like a dead zone. There's just empty space for long stretches, and that this dead zone is very bad for survivor. So in fact I should have tried to go to a place with all the walls and those windows, which would have helped me to escape better. So when I was running into this dead zone, this was a mistake. I think that this gave him the very easy kill. So you can see that when I was actually running those jungle gym walls and the windows, he actually took a lot longer to catch up to me because he couldn't really see where I was, and the dead zone in this open space just go down super fast doesn't really help matters actually. Now another thing that I think I could have done is if I had known that he was chasing me instead of chasing the lady, then I could have tried to run away from the final gen to allow survivors to complete the objectives. So I think that's all my thoughts and conclusions for this particular game. This is actually a defeat, but it was a very close defeat. The survivors got to 4 gens done. It was just 1 gen left, and then we would have been able to escape. So this is it's a good game, even if I lost. And thanks for watching.